Call it an act of God.
He just had us all at the right place at the right time.
A miracle.
Do you believe in miracles?
Oh, yes.
Or an unexplained phenomenon.
It was something more, it was more than me. It was...
Something spiritual?
Yeah, something spiritual.
Whatever it was,
Do you believe in angels?
Yes.
it saved Larry Brown's life.
I mean, I try to live every day as like it's my last day.
In July of last year, on a hot summer day, the 71-year-old was sitting on his favorite bench in front of his house in Maumelle, using a hatchet to whack away unwanted weeds, when everything turned fuzzy and then went black.
Some people think they can think they're having a heart attack and they know it. I didn't. I had no warning or anything. I just went.
It was that fast.
Yeah.
Larry was in sudden cardiac arrest and all alone. But his neighbors, Gary and Linda Coburn, just happened to be returning from an evening walk and saw him lying in the street.
So I'm right by the driveway, so I ran in to get Liz.
And the next thing I know, Linda's running up my stairs, hollering, "Larry's down."
He is breathing. Like I said, it's labored, it's not right, but before they get out there, he stops.
Totally.
Can you witness this?
Oh, yes.
But I thought he had already died.
Linda immediately called 911.
Is he awake?
No, he's non-responsive at all.
Is he breathing? Ma'am?
No, I don't think so.
This hill right here, and that's exactly where you found Larry down there.
That's when Larry's neighbor, Bahani Aguilera, just happened to be driving by. He jumped out of his car to see if he could help. The dispatcher, who was on speakerphone with Linda, calmly told them what to do.
I need you to pump the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second, 2 inches deep.
I was afraid I was going to break his chest because I was pushing so hard, and so she was counting on me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
He is doing compressions.
Okay, and he's keeping up. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, Granddad, can you hear us?
There you go.
Nearly 8 minutes had passed when Maumelle firefighter Lieutenant Jacob Haley arrived.
His condition at the time, do you recall?
He was dead. He was cold and clammy, and he was dead.
As Bahani continued chest compressions, Lieutenant Haley attached this automated external defibrillator.
Attach pads to patient's bare chest.
To try and bring Larry back to life.
But you didn't get a pulse back?
No, sir.
MEMS arrived next, and paramedic Alexis Bilbrook and her partner took over.
He was in VFib.
Meaning what?
Meaning that his heart was not beating, but the electricity in it was not an organized rhythm.
They immediately gave him oxygen and hooked him up to this chest compression system. The machine helped circulate blood to the brain and other vital organs, allowing paramedics to focus their attention on what else needs to be done. In this case, shocking Larry's heart for a second time.
We didn't get a response after the first shock.
At this point, Larry had been without a heartbeat and oxygen for nearly 20 minutes. Time was running out, so a third shock was given. His heartbeat fired back up. He was loaded into the ambulance and taken to Baptist Hospital. Doctors found an 80% blockage in one of his arteries. A stent was immediately put in, but Larry was still unresponsive and heavily sedated.
There were several doctors and several nurses in there, and they had him on the machines and everything breathing at that point. And we just told him how.
Machines keeping him alive.
To help reduce brain damage and improve his chances of waking up, they tried therapeutic hypothermia, a treatment in which the body temperature is lowered to 89 degrees and then slowly warmed back up. But doctors feared when and if that happened, he wouldn't be able to talk or walk. But after 5 days in the hospital, something happened, and it's the only thing Larry remembers.
I saw, it looked like 2 angels walking toward me. Then I woke up.
You don't know why you're singled out or that you're blessed and other people are. You don't know. You never will know.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's a miracle.
Do you feel in your heart that you saved his life?
I do. I feel like it's above me, honestly.
It all had to work together.
Things like that just don't happen.
I know. So There's got to be a reason for me still being alive.
On May 11th, Jeff Glassbrenner and his teammates board a ski plane.
Summit team to the summit, 90% chance of snow, with the low around -30.
And reach the base of Denali, 7,000 feet above sea level.
We've got the most amazing views coming in, and it was just kind of a time to think, all right, it's go time. All the training, all the preparation, is coming down to this moment.
The team spends 2 days at base camp prepping their equipment, sleds, ropes, food, and fuel.
The next day we started heading up that mountain, and that's when I kind of, it became real.
On average, the team will climb 5 hours a day. They start out carrying a 60-pound backpack and pulling a sled loaded with 60 pounds of equipment and food.
The next elevation was only 900 feet up, but it took us, 3 hours to get there because it's a lot of hard work just moving those heavy loads.
On day 4, they reach 11,000 feet. Strong winds are in the forecast, so they immediately create an ice wall around their camp.
Just to protect our tents and our equipment from the winds that we were getting every night.
Poor weather forces them to stay at 11,000 feet for 3 straight days. With yet another storm brewing, they make a critical decision to try and reach 14,000 feet.
The wind was going so much that we're pulling these sleds at about 30 or 40 pounds in the back of it at this time, and the sleds are lifting up off the ground. And so it was crazy. It was one of those moments you're like, should we be doing this?
When the team reaches 17,000 feet, things would only get worse. And this time there was nothing they could do to prepare them for what happened.
All of a sudden we look at the corner of our eye and we saw a climber fall about 1,300 feet.
31-year-old Adam Roski of British Columbia was on his way down when at 18,200 feet, he tumbled more than 1,000 feet.
It's something I'll never, ever forget.
The National Park Service saying in a statement, he was unresponsive due to multiple traumatic injuries.
The hardest part for me personally is watching that guy fall and knowing a few days later I'd have to be on that same mountain making those same steps that he did.
With another major storm heading their way, Glassbrenner and his team refocus, shifting their attention to building yet another ice wall. The job finished right before 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds blast their camp and temps drop to 35 below. For 6 days, the weather pounds their tents and campsite. The physical and mental toll, all captured in a series of selfies. Other teams retreat, but Glassbrenner and his team ride it out. With just 4 days of food left, the sky's clear. It's go time. There is no room for error. One wrong step, as you can see, can be disastrous. 8 hours after leaving the 17,000-foot camp, the team finally reaches the summit.
And to have that mountain all to ourselves and just to be there, not too many people have done that.
There are no cheering fans waiting for them or medals to be handed out at the summit, just a geological poll from the U.S. Department of Interior.
But what I do get is I get the most amazing views that you've ever seen.
A reward that only a few can say they've experienced firsthand.
I would say the harder the challenge, the better the views, and this was a huge challenge and a huge, huge view.
Pick any day over the past 13 years and odds are my brother John and I were either biking, swimming, or running, trying to outperform the other.
So who's more competitive, me or you?
Us.
Us.
Our head-to-head competition started back in 2007. I had just finished the Little Rock Marathon and was thirsty for another race. So I called my brother and challenged him to join me.
San Diego Rock and Roll.
You want to do it with
me? There, yeah. And I think it's something to the effect of, hey, Stay Puff, why don't you try it?
In true Kelly fashion, he didn't hesitate.
8 weeks later, I'm on the starting line and pretty much cursed your name the entire race because that really hurt.
3 months later, we did the Long Beach Marathon. 3 months after that, Phoenix.
Yeah, you beat me by 1 second, so you were 3-0.
2008 rolled in, and we were in the best shape of our lives and still racing. But right after finishing a half marathon, my brother's life changed forever when he noticed something in his urine.
I'm bleeding.
The next day, he went to see a urologist.
He looked at me and goes, you have transitional cell carcinoma, and it's pretty significant.
65,000 men will be diagnosed with bladder cancer this year alone. Of those, nearly 20% will die, and the average age of someone being diagnosed with it is 73. My brother was only 45.
That was shocking.
24 hours after being diagnosed, things got worse. He couldn't move his right leg and was having trouble breathing. He was rushed to the emergency room and was told he had blood clots in his leg and lungs.
The doctors are telling me at the emergency room, the clots are a bigger problem right now. Those could take you out if we don't address those right away.
He was immediately put on blood thinners and underwent surgery to remove 3 tumors in his bladder. He was also given BCG, a liquid drug that's injected into the bladder and attacks cancer cells.
I would receive those once a week for weeks on end.
After 12 long and painful weeks of treatment, he went back in for a progress report. The cancer was gone.
Part of this journey's been a gift.
How so?
Well, first and foremost, you know, if you believe in God, boy, was he looking out for me.
The two of us hit the pavement again, only this time we upped the ante and started doing half Ironman races. Swimming 1.2 miles, followed by a 56-mile bike ride, and then running 13.1 miles. The brotherly competition was back on. Over the next 10 years, we did nearly a dozen half Ironmans in California, Texas, and Missouri. But then, out of nowhere,
they came back.
Are you more terrified this time than the first?
Yes.
The BCG treatment started back up again, but this time they didn't work.
Ultimately, I become allergic to that.
Talks of removing his bladder to stop the spread of cancer and possibly save his life became more frequent and more frightening.
You have to take out these parts. It's bad. And so, yeah, did I think I was going to die? You bet.
Because he was allergic to BCG, his urologist put him on interferon, a powerful drug where proteins are injected into the body and trigger immune cells to attack and kill cancer cells. He's been getting interferon treatments every 3 months for the past 3 years. So far, it's working. And once again, he's back swimming, biking, and running.
Everybody's journey is different and unique, but it's a gift. I'm still here, I got a heartbeat.
Thanks in part to a brotherly challenge to get up and get moving.
I've said this to you repeatedly, you absolutely saved my life. You call me up and ask me to do any sort of crazy competitive thing, I'm there.